Thank you for joining us for the Satori software webinar, Mail Movers on Post-presort, an insurance policy mailers need. Before we get started, I'd like to cover just a couple of quick housekeeping items. Number one, if you participate in social media, you can connect to Satori software via Twitter, on LinkedIn, and on Facebook. The various tags and handles you'll need will be included in the presentation, and that presentation will be posted at the end of this webinar. Next, this webinar is being recorded. The recording will be available shortly after the broadcast, and you can find it on the webinars page of satorisoftware.com. Also, on the right-hand side of your screen is a question box. Feel free to enter any questions during the presentation and as the webinar progresses. We will collect these questions and answer them at the end of the presentation. Final piece of housekeeping, the webinar is currently scheduled to last 60 minutes. However, in the event that we run long or we collect a lot of good questions along the way, we will stay until all the questions have been answered. If you need to drop off because of time constraints, the webinar in its entirety will be included in the recorded version that is posted on the webinars section of satorisoftware.com. All right. I'm Rob Perrin, the Director of Merchandising for Satori Software, and I'm going to be your host today. Also joining me are Joe Bailey, the Director of Monticello Solutions for Satori Software, Gene Rainier, the Solutions Engineer for Satori Software, Inc., and guest speaker Will Wallace from Mail Marketing. Oh, he is a mail marketing consultant for Mail Movers. Today's webinar has 3 items on the agenda. First, the interview with Will Wallace from Mail Movers. Next, a live demonstration by Gene Rainier. And finally, our question and answer period, where I will be reading the questions that you've submitted during the rest of the webinar, and our panelists will be answering. So let's get started. Hi, Joe. How are you today?
Hey, great. How are you, Rob?
Very well, thank you.
Why don't we start out? And Will, how about you just tell us a little bit about Mail Movers and what you folks specialize in?
Okay. Well, we're a small market letter shop, and we do MLOCR. We're kind of on the eastern shore of Maryland. No big cities around that are part of our market anyway. So we have to kind of be soup to nuts. We have to cover everything for a wide variety of clients.
Gotcha. And how long have you been with the company?
I've been in direct mail a little over 20 years. I've been with Mail Movers for just about 14.
Gotcha. Tell us about some of your responsibilities specifically in the company.
I've always been kind of a data guy, so I was hired into the data department when I came on board here. I've got background in Xerox with VIP, which is at the time was Xerox's proprietary variable data language. So what I'm really responsible for now is any mail that's coming through on the letter shop side, any digital printing. So kind of from the time a job comes in until the time we get an address on it, I'm responsible for that. I also, with one other manager here, do all the interfacing with the post office, postal affairs questions, that sort of thing.
Gotcha. And what categories are some of your customers?
You know, we have hospitals, several universities in the area. In the town that we're located in, that one of the nation's largest poultry producers is headquartered. This is a big chicken raising area. A lot of companies that specialize in creating Delaware corporations, banks, bill collections, utilities, real estate companies, local chains, just about everybody. A lot of political mail this time of year.
Oh yeah. And what Monticello products are you currently using?
Mail.DB and postage DB.
Okay. So what are some of the general challenges that you see in your mailing operations?
Well, historically, we had a lot of issues with delivery time, especially with flats. But we're right on the border between Maryland and Delaware, and our mail that we would drop at a Maryland post office going into Delaware, which is a completely different region for the post office, would take, standard mail especially, would take 2 weeks or sometimes to get delivered, and vice versa. If we took Maryland mail into Delaware and dropped it, it would take a couple weeks getting back into Maryland. So we had to do things like open up multiple permit entry points to split our Maryland and Delaware mail stream. We also have an SCF that's about 50 miles away. We don't use it all the time, but we do use it when we have large localized mailings that would qualify for the discount. So at one point, until very recently, we held 3 different permits, one in Delaware, one locally, and one at the SCF. And then we have, like I said, we're kind of semi-regional, and so we ended up with customers that had permits at a lot of different post offices. So we had to take care, be able to accommodate them. Recently, we became a Mail Anywhere approved mailer, and so that's cleaned a lot of that up. We're able to drop things locally for our clients. But I guess the other issue is and talking to people in the industry, I think it's pretty industry-wide. It seems like when we get busy, that's when more work comes in, and when we get slow, it's like, we're dead, and it just seems to be like flipping a switch. You'll be completely dead, and 15 minutes later you'll be jammed to the walls, or you'll be completely jammed, and 15 minutes later you're dead, and for streaks of days or weeks at a time.
So what led you to start using the post-presort solutions?
We, almost exactly 2 years ago, we started the foray into full service IMB. We have an MLOCR machine, and the software and hardware lease on that was up, and in the process of renewal, we decided we'd go ahead and start looking at the full service IMB, because at the time, the post office was going to be requiring it at the beginning of this year past. So we started down that road, and we decided that my side, the traditional letter shop side, would be easier to implement first. We could control things a little bit better. We weren't under the time crunch at the end of the day with our like we are with the MLOCR. So we decided to implement on my side first, and when it came to post-presort, we were really questioning whether, for somebody our size in our market, whether it was going to be cost effective. But the thing that really kind of at the beginning tipped the scale for us in favor of trying it was that we were promised by Monticello, by you guys, that you would get us through the TEM environment, get us full service certified, going along with purchasing the software, that you would walk us through that process. And so, honestly, it was kind of pragmatism that started us with Monticello.
And so, what kind of steps did you take to identify what would be the best post-presort solution for you?
Well, we fell in love with, not with the software initially as much as just that promise of getting us through TEM. We knew we were going to be the first company in this area to go full service, and we knew we had reluctant, if not hostile, receiving clerks, and we knew that we were not going to be able to get the straight scoop from anybody because there was just reluctance in it. So basically what we did, we started sitting down and asking ourselves procedural questions, things that we didn't know the answer to at the time. Well, how are we going to maintain unique barcodes when we have an MLOCR mail stream, we have tagging equipment, we have a letter shop mail stream? What was a unique barcode? how are we going to track CRIDs and ghost numbers? How did we get them even? Our multiple entry point issues, all those kinds of things. And so we really just had a whole list of questions that we didn't know the answers to, and ultimately we went with you guys, and we were introduced to Gene Rainier, who started walking us through the answers and processes and kind of best practices to be able to implement answers to all those questions.
So tell us a little bit about how the software's worked out for you and how the company has supported you.
Well, initially, Gene Rainier got us through TEM. Actually, pretty quickly, we actually were the delay because, like I said, it was a couple years ago, and just about this time of year we started, and then we got so swamped with election work, we just made a choice to put full service on hold temporarily just till we got the election work out. But then we came back into it, and we were just supported all the way. We had issues where we had Monticello and another software vendor telling us one thing, and the post office telling us a completely different thing. Gene went to bat. And gave us the confidence really to hold our ground, and the post office caved and told us we were right. We had a situation where Gene actually went to bat for us at MTAC and got clarification on an issue that was eventually resolved. She was knowledgeable and patient. She would go the extra mile. Initially she just got us through it, got us confident with the software, and really held our hands for a long time. Would come back in with training sessions when necessary to show us something that we thought we knew but didn't. The nice thing now that we've gotten comfortable with it, is that we really like the kind of the one-stop view, where all our jobs that are waiting to go out are sitting there in the queue. We can see them. We can see what's been done with them. That we can immediately, if we do fail validation on Postal One, go back in, go into the job, go into the specific files of the jobs, and make updates, make changes. Once in a while they retire a Mail.dat format version like 12.1 to 12.2. I think we're using 14.1 now. And when they retire one, if it's a customer where I have in my pre-sort software where I have a Mail.dat set up already, kind of the framework for it already set up, and I forget to update that. We had an issue where I had just a whole bunch of Mail.dat files already made, and they were the wrong version, a version that had died and could no longer be uploaded. And Monticello always provides for the ability to go in and upgrade your older versions to the most current version with really just a click of a button. We're able to change container sizes. We can combine 1-foot trays where we want to within an EMM mailing, or change 1 foot to 2 foots. We can create sibling containers if we overestimate how many pieces we can get to a tray, and we end up having to create additional physical trays to get the mailing out. We're able to store all the information for our drop shipping using a third-party vendor where we have their fast scheduler ID and all that kind of thing saved, so that when we go to do a mailing, we can create the 8125s and pallets and that sort of thing for it. One of the kind of unique issues we've run into with our MLOCR machine is that it requires pallets to be created. But on our small standard jobs that we run over there, it would force us to create everything into a single NDC pallet that would go up to Washington. And we actually go in, we actually pull those into Monticello and destroy the mother pallets so that we can keep the local mail local, and it's not under the cover of a pallet flag that's taking our local mail out of the area. So we're able to control our delivery times a little bit better with that.
Got it. And you mentioned making updates to the file. Can you talk about some of the specific fields that most often need to be updated?
Sure. Well, the scheduled induction date and time, the mailing date and time. Again, the container sizes, which is very, very easy to go in and do. With Mail Anywhere, it makes it very easy to go in and add the account number, or if you need to change the permit type, if it's a permit or virtual or gross permit or whatever. One of the things that happens is when I say we, I mean I forget to enter that sometimes in the wizard that I use for creating Mail.dat files out of my presort software, and so I'll get ready to upload this thing, and I'll get an error telling me that I don't have a permit type, and I just have to go in and change it to whether it's a virtual or an actual permit. Changing payment types, the account number that we need to add, or the origin post office that we might need to change because of a Mail Anywhere decision that we make kind of last minute to get things in and out. They're the ones that come to mind.
Gotcha. So some of the items are items that you might have misentered during the pre-sort setup process, or forgot to enter, and some of the items are items that you couldn't have known at the time.
So some of them are just kind of those kind of things that kind of reveal themselves in the live environment. Yeah, we could send EMM trays out with 3 pieces, for the local SCF drop in them on a standard mailing, but it's just everybody's happier when you just convert that to a 1-foot, and that's just much easier to do in a post-presort software package than it's impossible as far as I know to do it in my regular presort software.
And I understand you occasionally do partial releases. Is that right?
Yeah. We'll do partial releases usually when we have a large job, and for whatever reason we're just not able to get it all out. It may be that we've run out of media and we're waiting for more to come in from the client or a printer. But a lot of times it's just that we're able to get trays 1 to 50 done today, and we're just going to hold 51 to the end to drop the following day. So we can do partial releases that way. Yep. And it's a very splitting the job by tray is a very quick, very simple process in Monticello.
Fantastic. Maybe you could share with us a little bit about your more general customer support experience you've had with Satori.
The thing I like about Monticello and customer support is, or things I like. One is I get a live human being when I call, and the other is that I get answers when I ask questions. There seems to be an understanding, and I find this lacking in this industry with a lot of companies. But there seems to be an understanding of the pressure that I think I'm conveying in my voice when we're up against the wall with a time frame, and we just don't have. We need it fixed. We can figure out how to make it pretty later. We can figure out how to avoid it. Again, we can have all those conversations. But I just need to get this mail out the door right now, and I have that sense from Monticello support when I speak with them.
Great. Now, here's a question I think a lot of people that are listening in are probably wondering. You describe yourself as a small to medium-sized mail preparer, I think a lot of those folks are wondering, how can they cost justify post-presort software?
You know, to be honest with you, this was the question that we wrestled with for a long, long time. And and to be completely frank, it's a question that comes back on the table every year when it comes time to renew. It's there. How do you cost justify? And it comes down to a couple things. First, there are things that I know if I didn't, there are specific instances that occur throughout the year and with particular types of jobs and with recurring types of jobs that we could not control or fix in a production environment without post-presort software. Our MLOCR software right now does not have the capability for us to enter an account number in order to qualify for Mail Anywhere. So we have to, anytime that we're doing a Mail Anywhere job for a person in our daily VAR mailing, we have to pull that in and update the MPA in order to do that. The main thing for us, and like I said, when we first bought it, the first year it was like pragmatism. We're going to pay for training. We'll use it. We'll see how it does. It's going to get me through TEM. It's going to get me qualified. But then after you get through that, you begin to realize that when it's our cutoff time to have mail at the post office is 4:30, and when it's 4:15 and your Mail.dat just failed, and you've got 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you've got to get that, we're looking at sometimes 30, 50, 75,000 pieces of mail that are riding on that one file being accepted or not. You're not thinking at that point about how much money you saved by not ponying up for the post-presort software, and you're not wanting to leave a message with your vendors for them to get back to you, the next day with, to figure out what the answer is. You want somebody that's going to pick up the phone, tell you how to fix the problem, and not hit you with it like it's a problem that they've never heard of before. Every time I've had a problem like that, Monticello has a solution built in, or at least they know a way to get to it, and very quickly we've been able to correct those issues and get away. So I kind of think of it, aside from the day-to-day nicety of having it, I think of it as an insurance policy. And you pay the premiums every month, and you hope you're not going to use it, but when you do, it's nice to have it. And honestly, that's what it boils down to. There are just things that we can't fix in any kind of production environment time frame without a post-production, without Monticello, without Mail.DB on the floor.
Got it. And you say, we understand that you're full service compliant, and you went through that process a couple of years ago. So why do you recommend other mailers become full service compliant?
Well, in the first place, you're going to have to eventually. Everybody kind of dodged the bullet who didn't go full service in January, or by January. But it's coming back around. It's where the industry, the post office wants everybody full service. They want to go to seamless acceptance. It's going to happen. The sooner you do it, there's a postage savings. To be honest with you, in my market, we don't have any competition that's full service. So, to be real frank, we glean most of that savings back from our customers in order to kind of help cover cost of making the change. But even if you can't do that, we're professionals. you know, this is what we do for a living. I'm not selling meat out the back door. I do mail, and to anybody who knows about direct mail, being full service, being mail anywhere, those kind of things, they give you a little bit of standing. I get the standing with the post office. It doesn't always feel like it, but it does give a standing with the post office. It opens the door to mail anywhere, which just, although it's a little esoteric, it's a little hard to wrap your head around. It really changes the game for getting mail. I mean, everybody has a local permit, and you know, every post office is available to you. Every post office is a bulk mail entry unit. I don't think there's another full-service mailing provider within 100 miles of us, and we're a little proud of that. But it's one of those things that maybe out of 50 clients that we talk to, 2 or 3 of them care. But the ones who do care, it means something to them. So I would say do it just because you're going to have to, and the sooner you do it. Right now, I think it's pretty obvious that once they require it, the postage discounts that are associated with it will go away. There'll be no incentive for the post office to pay those.
All right. Well, we probably have some participants on the call today that they are aware of post-presort software. They might have considered it in the past, but they haven't taken the action on it. What kind of recommendations do you have for them?
Well, first, just kind of talking about full service on its own is just to embrace that it's going to happen. I mean, just accept it. Then I would tell them, and I may be speaking out of turn, but you can tell them later. I would tell them to do what we did. We tried it. We asked for a demo. We brought the software in. We played with it. We purchased it for the first year. I'll tell you this. Full service has its benefits and it's got its drawbacks. But having Monticello software on my team on a day-to-day basis lets me sleep well at night. It really makes a difference. It just, if you're going to go full service, don't cheat it. Go ahead and try the one thing that's going to make your life easier in the process of making it. If you decide down the road that you don't need it, yeah, you can make that call. But I'm telling you, I think once you have it now, you're going to stay with it.
Fantastic. Well, we really appreciate it. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I know you're going to stick around to answer some questions at the end. Sure. And right now, I'm going to turn it back over to Rob.
Thank you, Joe. And a special thanks to you, Will. Appreciate that. It's good to hear your company's doing so well. Question reminder for everybody who's tuned in. There is a question box on the right-hand side of your screen, and we've got some great questions coming in. Please feel free to add yours to the pile, and we'll make sure those get answered. We've got a demonstration coming up next, and this demonstration, Jean Rainier is going to cover changing container type, creating sibling containers, shorting a container, reduce pallets, printing pallet flags, and generating 8125s. Hello, Jean. How are you today?
Just fine. Thanks, Rob.
Welcome. Very well. Thank you. Welcome.
So, can you see my screen?
We're switching you over right now, Jean. Should be good.
Okay. So, welcome, everyone. The first thing that I'm covering is changing container types, because I'm hearing a lot of people are dealing with EMM trays, and they'll have 10 pieces or less in an EMM tray, and the clerks don't like it, and nobody likes dead air when they're transporting mail. So I'm going to show you the quick way to do it if you just have a couple trays, and then if anybody is interested in doing it for large jobs, please give us a call and we can arrange a demo where we walk you through how to use a batch update to change an EMM to a 1 foot by copy count, for example. By clicking on Edit, I can go into the container detail where the trays are located at, and I can sort by the copy count. And when I sort by the copy count, here I'm just going to go to the end of the file, I have one that's just 10 pieces. What you can do, and this is an EMM, but it's a good example, I wouldn't want a 2 foot with just 10 pieces either, is I hit enter and I can type an O for 1 foot and hit enter and it's changed. Another thing that happens is that you have situations where maybe you mismeasured the piece. It ends up being thicker and not as many pieces can fit in a tray, so you can create sibling trays or overflow trays. We have a container function called Work with Sibling Containers. You go into Add Siblings and select the trays that you need overflow for. So let's say, for example, that these trays here need a sibling. I can add them to the bottom and click OK. And then I can leave them as the same container type, or I could change them to 1 foot, whatever I need. And then I just click Add, and it creates a sibling. Now, here, I like to assign my IMBs after the fact. If you're interested in siblings, please talk to me about it. I'm always concerned about duplication of mailer IDs when you have siblings and you're using the same MID. So definitely ask me about that. Anyway, I'll add that. So now I've got sibling containers, but I need intelligent mail barcodes for that. So we have another function where you can go in and actually assign the missing IMB. So you put in your mailer ID and you check generate 24-character IM barcode for sacks and trays, and it'll go in and actually generate it for the siblings. Another thing I wanted to show you is that there might be instances where you need to short at the container level. You just have a tray that's just not going to go out the door. We can short at the piece level, and we have several different ways you can do that. But just for the sake of time, I'm just going to work with you on shorting a container. So we have a postage function, and it's in postage functions because it impacts postage. You click on spoilages and shortages, and let's say the last tray is not going to go out the door. You just right-click on it. Oh, I hit right-click to get in, so I'm going to use the edit menu. And then I can select whether it's short or spoiled. In this case, I'll select short. Then all the piece counts go away. I close out this window, save the changes, and it actually is physically changing all the different Mail.dat records that apply. So when it's sent to Postal 1, that tray doesn't exist. Another thing that I'm seeing happening to people that Will was talking about how in MLOCR that he needs to be able to destroy pallets. Well, also some people need to reduce the number of pallets that they have. So I'm going to show you both. On this job, I'm going to go back into container functions, work with mother pallets. If you want to see what you have, I like using this modify where I can just go in and view what pallets I have. And all of my mail is origin, and I notice that there's just a bunch of small pallets that are created at the NDC level. If you're not concerned about delivery time, then why not just destroy those pallets and put them all together on the mixed NDC? So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going into destroy mother pallets, and I'm picking everything but that mixed NDC. Because none of them are the 36 linear feet that the Postal Service would then want you to build a pallet, or the 72 that they require you to build a pallet. And since it's not being drop shipped, I'm just putting it all onto one pallet. So now that I've destroyed those pallets, the cool thing is I can go in and add those trays to that pallet that I have left. And I just highlight them all. And move them down. And now they become part of that pallet. And it's done. It's ready to send off. Now, here's one thing that will happen if you do something like this, and I'll talk to you more about it in a demo or in a training session, is that if the destination line needs to change, then the zip code in your Intelligent Mail barcode changes. So we suggest that definitely if you get this message, that it's best to replace your Intelligent Mail barcode tray label. And you do have the option up by the USPS. That's not a good thing. They're not going to be happy with you if you. So we're just warning you that this is going to happen, and then print your labels out of our software. Which leads me to the next thing, is that when you've changed the pallet, not only do you want to change the code or the zip code changes, but having a new pallet flag with the right tray count, copy count, etc. is nice to have. You go into print container labels, and you can create a template that you load each time that you create pallet flags. You can put nice little messages on it in addition to what's on the flag itself. You can put in your origin if you don't put that on the mailer line. And here's what one of our pallet flags look like. And as you can see, it's got the tray range down on the bottom, the number of trays. And if it was drop shipping, it would have the address of the facility. Another thing when you make a change is that if you need to print 8125s, now this is origin, but what I'll do is I'll show you another job where you actually generate 8125s, because one of the things that Will was referring to was that he does print the 8125s out of our software. So I'll pick another job that actually has some drop ship and create 8125s. You select the 8125, and then you can build templates that you load. They can have different trucking companies' information in it. You can put your fast scheduler ID in it. There's all sorts of great information that you can add. You can even populate the section, the gray area of the 8125 if your clerk will let you, box 19, 20, and 21. I'll click OK so you can see what it looks like. We have a register that can be suppressed, but I kind of think of it as a container summary report that flags you. For example, if you're drop shipping, you don't want any loose trays, so if you saw a tray count here, you know, oops, I need to go back and put those on a pallet in Mail.db. When I page down, then I can actually see the information that's populated. If you put it in the Mail.dat, we'll put the in-home dates, we'll put the appointment number. We just pull that directly from the Mail.dat. And at the bottom of the 8125, as I was mentioning, we can populate in the area that the clerk might hand fill in. But if they'd like you to do that for them, you have the ability to do that. And then we'll give you the address of the facility. And then it's just one for each entry point. I think I have enough time that I can cover one more thing. Am I okay, Rob? Or?
You should be just fine, Gene. We've got about 5 more minutes for the demo.
Perfect. Partial mailings. When you have a mailing that can't go out all on the same day, you've got a couple different ways to deal with it. If you're not certain about what mail is going to go out the door on which day, then you can create a plan file, which is a qualification report and the version summary. You post this to Postal One on its own, and once you've uploaded that to Postal One, then you can go in and select only the containers that you want to pay postage on. So you click on Postal One again, and it defaults to pay postage. You hit next, and you go in and actually physically select the containers, or maybe it might even be by entry point. So you pick the destinations that you're going to, and you can sort by any one of these columns. And so let's say that I wanted to take these 3 out first. I can come in here and set the mailing date to today's date. I can also change my scheduled induction date, whatever other fields I want to update. I'm not going to put in this scheduled. And if you want to do e-induction, paperless 8125s, we do have the e-induction indicator in here as well. Plus, we also let you know which ones actually have the scans by this SV site indicator. When I click OK, it's going to go through, and when this is uploaded, it'll pay postage for Greensboro, Jacksonville, and Cincinnati only, and these will be left as open to be paid later. And then I just save that and upload that. Then when you come in the next day or 2 days later, or however many days it is, you're only going to see the containers that are left. And you can pick them all, or you can pick a portion of them. Or let's say now you still have 2 days of mailing, but one's going to go out on the 21st and one's going to go on the 22nd, and you know that for sure. You can enter both at the same time, and by the mailing date, it'll produce 2 statements. So you don't have to do it for every day of mailing. You just have to do it until you know for sure when the mail is going out the door. And I think I've run out of time, so if anybody's interested in other functionality we have that Will had mentioned is split job by containers, I can certainly show you that at a future time.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that demonstration, Jean.
You're welcome.
Before we jump into our questions and answers, and Jean, if you'll stay put, we do have a couple of questions here I think you might want to answer. I wanted to let you know about what's coming up next in our webinar series. On September 25th at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, we will be presenting Lane Press Shares Their Secret to Improving ROI. Sounds like a good one. If you'd like more information about any of the topics presented in this webinar or about other Satori products, please contact us at the phone number and email address that you are currently seeing on your screen. So let's jump right into our questions and answers. Jean, I think this first one is for you. It came from the demo. It says, I saw on the pallet flag that Jean just created that it still said pallet 6. Does this matter when we are only presenting one pallet in the example?
No, it does not.
That was certainly straightforward. All right. Hey, Joe, I think this one's for you. How does Monticello compare to the competition for Mail.dat?
Good question. I think of it in terms of a few different things. There are different features, more powerful features, accuracy, and support. So there are a lot of features that we have that our competition doesn't have, one being that we, for example, pre-validate files as you go to submit them to Postal One to let you know in advance that if there are any errors that you're going to encounter with Postal One so that you can fix those up front. And without going down through a list of those features, if someone's interested in comparing the products, we can certainly go through it on a feature-by-feature basis. And the second thing is accuracy. Oftentimes, we'll get calls where folks have somehow got access to results from our software as well as from our competition. And the question is, which answer is correct and why? And I can just tell you that in my experience over 18 years, we're not perfect, but we are, in the vast majority of the time, where you come up with the right answer. When it disagrees with a competitor's product, I can confidently say that we're more accurate. And I think one of the most important things is we've heard time and time again there's a real difference in support. And support means a lot of what Will was talking about our knowledge and our understanding of the critical nature of the question and our ability to answer it and get your mailing out the door. That's sort of the ongoing support, but support means a lot more than that. And it also means when there are postal regulatory changes that we, for example, new postage statements, that we have those changes out early and that we have them done correctly. So keeping the software current with postal regulatory changes, with Mail.dat specification changes, continuing to make enhancements to the product, I lump those all under support, and we've been told by customers time and time again that we do all of those things a lot better than our competition.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
It's Will. Can I jump in for just a second?
Absolutely.
We had the opportunity after the first year, as our first year with Monticello was coming to a close, to look at the other software. And I got to tell you, initially, we liked the interface. We thought it was really nice, but we ran into a couple things that ultimately kept us with Monticello. And one of those was when we tried to create dropship pallets, we had a hard time duplicating the results as far as getting the right pallet flags, that sort of thing. Now, granted, we were new to the software, but we just didn't feel comfortable with some of the results we were getting, and we felt that it offered us the ability to make mistakes that it didn't warn us off of. And the other was, quite honestly, the support. When we literally would call in, leave our name and number, and then a tech would call us back, and that just in the time, when we're just playing with it, practicing with it, it was fine, but we just did not feel that was a viable solution for us in a production environment moving forward.
More questions, Rob?
Okay. Well, we've got both Will and Joe here. There's one from a customer that says, we specialize in mailing 10,000 pieces and under. How would Monticello be of benefit in this small mailing environment?
We specialize in that too. I mean, and not out of choice. I'm not telling you we don't do larger mailings because we do, but on my side, on the letter shop side of the house, probably 90% of our volume is under 10,000 pieces. We have mailing jobs as small as 1,500, 2,000, even smaller, but I mean just kind of regular. Still, it's that whole thing where I would just have to say when you do small jobs, a lot of times you end up at the end of the day with a lot more small jobs than the mailer who's doing 50,000, 100,000 piece jobs on a regular basis. They may be doing that, but they may not be putting as many jobs out. And with every job you do, you just kind of exponentially increase your chance of really doing something stupid. And trust me, I've done it. And again, it's one of those things that when you're sitting down, if you're just looking at the cost of the software and going, boy, it's a chunk to write a check for, I understand that. But our experience has been that it's worthwhile, and that's the type of jobs that we're running on a regular basis in our market also.
Thanks, Will. Hey, Joe. We use Mail.xml instead of Mail.dat. Does this make a difference with Monticello?
It makes a difference. Monticello requires a Mail.dat file as input. What I found, however, is that products that can produce Mail.xml can also produce Mail.dat. I've not come across a presort product or piece of equipment that can only produce Mail.xml. So I would suggest looking at that. If that is not the case, please correct me so I don't say that again, and let me know.
Perfect. Next question, I'll throw this one out, but I think it might be for Gene. If we are using bulk mailer as our presort software, do we still need to go through TEM testing?
You have to send one job to TEM. The clerk doesn't look at it. It's just a matter of you have it marked as full service. You upload it to the TEM environment. They want you to look at the statement, make sure that everything's accurate. They want you to look at the qualification report and make sure that that matches with the qualification report you have from bulk mailer, and you're okay. And then you just let your clerk know you're starting to upload full service jobs and you're ready to go.
However, I'll add to that and say that what we recommend is that you do go through the TEM process with as many scenarios or many types of jobs that you are actually going to be doing in production. It's not going to count against you. They're not going to keep you from going full service because of the results. So there's really nothing to lose by doing it. And what you can do is you can get experience in a non-production environment on all of the types of mailings that you're going to be doing. Test partial releases, test all the different classes of mail, for-profit and not-for-profit, and just make sure that you got the data fields filled out correctly and that you're comfortable with what you're going to be doing once you go into production.
TEM is an essential step, is it not?
I think it is. In fact, what some folks do is and that stands for the test environment for mailers, in case someone's not aware of that. And we even find that some folks go back and do TEM testing even after they're full service qualified when they get a new type of job that they've never really handled before, or if they get a new combination of crids and mids that they're not 100% are registered in Postal 1 correctly. So it can be a good tool to use occasionally, even on an ongoing basis.
I would say we use TEM every time we're faced with a different type of mail anywhere job, because there's a whole variety of combinations of who's post office, who's permanent, caps accounts, all those kind of things that come into play. And I was just talking to the other postal affairs guy, another manager, before we went on to this webinar, and we're debating what information needs to be where in the Mail.dat file for a Mail Anywhere scenario that we've never had before, and we'll upload the TEM first to make sure that it's accepted before we go live with it.
I think we've got time for one final question, and this is for Will. Will, how do you handle spoilage?
Well, frankly, there are several different answers to that. If it's only a couple pieces, sometimes I won't even worry about it. I'll be honest with you. It's not worth the time. If it's a large amount, what I will do, and I'm sure that there's a more elegant way to do this than what I do, but what I'll do is I will split the job by container and just get rid of all the full containers that are spoilage or shortage or whatever there is. And then there's several ways to go in and actually remove the individual pieces of the partial container in order to get that out of there. If you're working on if we're working with pieces that are like scattered throughout the mailing, and we're going to go back and remove pieces. One of the things we do in a production environment on my side, on the leather shop side, is we will generally print a sequence number in very small, very light print somewhere on the piece. We do this a lot when we have perfect match type things also, just so that we can very quickly with an envelope figure out if something doesn't match where you know, how we're wrong, and get it back on track. But those sequence numbers come into play really, really nicely when there's a problem, when something gets destroyed or there's spoilage and you want to get it out. But the short answer is Monticello will allow for piece-level removal of spoiled pieces.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Will. On behalf of everyone at Satori Software, I would like to thank our speakers for presenting today. Thank you to Joe Bailey and Jean Rainier. And special thanks to you, Will. We appreciate you coming by, and we're glad you could join us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, all. Thank you all to the listeners for joining us today. Please take a moment to complete the brief survey that you're going to be offered at the end of this presentation so we can continue to improve our webinar series. As I mentioned earlier, this webinar will be available in its entirety in the webinar section of satorisoftware.com. This webinar has been produced by Jerisa Chang. For Satori Software, I'm Rob Perrin, the Director of Merchandising. Once again, thank you for attending this webinar, and we at Satori would like to wish you smooth mailing ahead.